over the last few years, since most of the time that I've been involved in making videos on YouTube, I've actually covered regularly the idea of children being abused, the vulnerable being abused, and I've defended specific people in regard to this. And I was contacted a couple of days ago, and this was quite a blow and shocking to me. On my Google page, I get stuff on the Google message thing, not on the YouTube, but Google, I don't know how that works. Anyway, I get a message from a person that I have been supporting in my videos. I haven't been sending money or contact. I've not contacted this person, but I liked his message, and I get an inbox or a message comment from a friend of this person who says to cease and desist using his name and to take down any videos that mention his name, and I complied. Now, what I'd like to say is all the hacks and the attack dogs that are out there, it's not because of you that these videos are gone, but I've had a request, and I don't understand this, and the request was related to his notion that I'm using his name to benefit and profit in order to sell my paintings. And all I'd like to say is, number one, I took down all the videos where I mentioned what I can find, where I mentioned this person's name, and I will no longer refer to this person. And it's quite distressing from a perspective that someone that seems to have the right message can be so delusional and come to conclusions that are so deranged. But I will comply. I don't need to use this person's name whatsoever. And quite frankly, the fact that I have invoked certain people in my videos on YouTube and my activism to expose the fact that the nuclear criminal syndicate, and I call it a criminal syndicate because, well, let me go on first about finish this off. I will no longer mention this, and I have not actually sold any paintings because of my YouTube activism and whatever it is that I say on YouTube. In fact, the opposite has happened. I've been attacked and I've been blacklisted, what I think is a blacklisting by museums who won't touch the work that I'm doing, the nuclear work that I'm doing. And I'm actually in between paintings. I've started a series of paintings based on the Pacific, and they're drying on the floor, as you can see. I'm in between paintings. I'm doing a video. I don't do videos mostly. I make paintings mostly. And contrary to popular belief by the attack dogs, I'm not selling paintings because of my YouTube presence. I do sell my paintings, actually, people. I do sell my paintings. Anyway, what I wanted to say in this video, and it's going to be a brief comment on something that I've understood, and I put this aside. I was quite hurt by this suggestion by a person who seemed to me to be on the level towards me. I still like the message, but I want nothing more to do with this individual. I detach myself completely from this individual, and I have my own path. I have my own understanding. I don't need anyone to tell me what to feel or think about a topic, and I'm not going to use anyone in order to satisfy my greed or whatever that suggestion might be. I'm a greedy guy who's just trying to use people to enrich myself. What is that? I delight in the misfortunes of other kind of feeling. Yeah, well, that happens a lot, but quite frankly, this is outrageous to me. But so I'm finished. I'm done. I'm finished. Over with. But I will not finish with my advocacy to defend the vulnerable, especially children. And what I wanted to comment on in I'm going to try to make this brief. I've been told to do it faster. Anyway, what I want to comment on is, as a painter, what is of significance to me is when I observe what is known in the cultural artistic community as originality. I am quite invigorated. I am thrilled when I see originality. And I have to tell you that there is very little noticeable originality in the public domain, the way museums promote artists. They are vulgar. They are spectacled people like Damien Hirst or Tracy Emin or Ai Weiwei and the installation types. I have nothing against installation, but this was done in the 1920s by the Dada people, by Duchamp and Huizenbeck and Tara and poets and people that expressed themselves not through putting paint on a surface. Mind you, Duchamp did do some fabulous paintings, but there was a whole side to expressing oneself that is not directly related to painting. So they were installations. They were doing events, the Café Voltaire. These were people doing the very thing that museums are exalting now, like 80, 90 years ago. So how original is that? And I come to the idea of originality. And what I want to say is that my own perception of where we're going, and if we're going to get through what we're now facing, the hundreds of thousands of tons of nuclear waste and spent fuel pools and all the generating facilities called nuclear plants that have generators, that have nuclear reactors that are spewing nuclear toxicity into the environment every day. Never mind the fuel pools that are sitting there. They don't know what to do with this horrible stuff, like that British article that had designed a container that would make nuclear fuel good for 100,000 years. Well, what about the other million or 2 or 3 million years that you need to contain it? What happens after 100,000 years? You see, these people are quite deranged because they come up with a solution that is only a partial solution. And in fact, it's not even a solution, because 100,000 years, they don't even know their shopping list from last week. And they're telling us that they've designed something that'll work for 100,000 years. It's a joke. It's a joke. And we're supposed to believe it because they're called scientists. And scientists that are basically on the payroll. And this is so myopic, it makes no sense to me. Not to have this feeling of longevity, of being alive on this planet for a longer period of time, rather than what it takes to cash your check for your period of employment. And who cares everything else afterwards? Nach mir die Sintflut. That is a German expression. Nach mir die Sintflut. It means after me the flood. Who cares? Anyway, my brief comment about the idea that I am working with is not only idea, but the fact of originality is very important in culture and art, because it has a way of allowing us to move into another experience. And well, the experience being positive, it's that it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And part of originality is that it's also very rare. It's not something that is like dime a dozen. Oh, I'm original every day. No, it doesn't work that way. It's very rare. And I'm going to do a radical thing now, and I'm going to say one of the most original states that, if it is a state, being original is we usually associate it with inventing something or whatever. But I also believe that it's connected to being rare. And one of the things that is extremely rare now is conscience. People doing the right thing. If you want to be original and you want to be part of this family of very, very few people that are original, you're going to act your conscience. It's not like, with my paintings, what I'm doing is I'm developing, it's not what it is so much that I'm making, but how it is that I'm making. I understand these are not paintings the way they necessarily appear to you, how they look. I have actually devised ways of expressing myself in a way that's never been done before. It hasn't been done before, which is my originality. But what I feel myself to be totally original in is exercising my conscience through my art. Because if you look at artists now, they don't have a conscience. They're just creating a superficial spectacle. And as long as people, the way Rothko called them the popsicles, you're part of a pop culture, he called them the popsicles. And Mark Rothko is not one of my favorite artists. I think he was actually kind of wimpy, but there was an intensity in this artist's work that I appreciate. But I loved his comment about the popsicles, the people that in his time in the 60s, he died fairly well, he killed himself, were producing work, Andy Warhol and the pop artists that he really derided, he didn't like them. But we are now in a blow-off period of popsicalism. The popsicles have taken over, the fluff, the meaningless work that's being produced with no originality, and they try to invoke things that most people don't understand art history and can understand that all installation work is based on something that happened 90 years ago by a group called Dada artists. So, well, fine. And you can say that I'm making paintings that is like 600-700 years ago, or even Altamira, the caves. The point is that I am adjusting the way I work to the time that I'm in. And what I do not see any of the installation work in museums invoking something that you and I haven't seen before. Anyway, I think I'll leave it at this. And what my point is, that if something is very rare, it's possibly also quite original. And what's rare is people acting their conscience, which is why we're in the proverbial shitter. We're in the shitter because people have decided to take a paycheck or just to sort of hide away from the fact of what it is we're facing. And you want to be original, act your conscience. Do the right thing.